All right. I don't know what to do with my hands. All right, so this is Polisher's Corner, podcast number
69?
10?
Oh.
I think I got 9
Honestly, I have no idea.
in. I think you're number 10.
I'm getting lost in it.
So we've gotten to a nice round number.
Perfect.
We've hit the first 10. Got that out of the way. Definitely got an interesting cat here today. I'm actually looking forward to this conversation for what it's worth. Like, I know you're kind of hesitant to do it.
I'm not really a polisher, so
Yeah.
other than the amateur hour
You do.
special.
Yeah, but that's the beautiful part is like, I started this podcast series so that people could be relatable or other polishers could relate to the conversations.
Yeah.
And a lot of people reach out to me and ask questions all the time. But it seems like it's not until they hear somebody else saying or have gone through the same thing I went through that they're finally like, okay, I get it. It's not just an Evan thing. Other people have the same issues happen, you know?
Yeah.
But I guess we'll start off by having you introduce yourself. You are?
Devon Johnson.
From?
Jade Transport from Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.
And for those of you that have seen this year, the little bit of show circuit we had, even with the COVID, what was the truck you were driving this year?
It's a 2020 W900B Kenworth with a Series 60 12.7 Detroit in it.
Okay, so that thing had a Max Force in it or something.
Yeah. Transforce, Max Force, something like that. Yeah. So
That's a whole other story.
You got Snapchat?
As it turns out, yes, I do.
Perfect,
Yes, I do. So how long have you been with Jade?
Since 2014.
So
I was 18 years old starting.
So you were 18 in 2014, not to age you at all, but that puts you at 24 years young.
Yep.
And you've been with them for 6 years.
It's going on 6.
Going on 6 years.
Yeah.
And you've gotten to drive some of the cream of the crop over there.
Been pretty fortunate in that. Yeah.
I mean, today in the shop you've got the old winter beater, the old cab over, the big bunk.
362E, 2000 362E.
And the other week you were driving the little one.
Yeah, another 2000 362, not enhanced.
Yeah.
Unenhanced.
Honestly, re-explain to me again what the enhanced meant. It was just
A lower doghouse, a relocated shifter, which is just a little bit more comfortable for getting in and out of the sleeper.
it was definitely more
So
convenient
it's-
sitting in it
yeah,
compared to where my cab over is.
Yeah, it's up closer to your dash. Gives
Yeah.
you a little bit of room for that switchback to
Yeah.
bunk.
Well, mine doesn't have a bunk, so I don't need to worry about that. I mean,
Yeah.
you lay a board across the center and you sleep in a
Good to go.
doghouse.
Yeah. West Coast turnarounds, let's go.
Yeah.
But yeah, when it comes to, they also lowered the overall cab height. It's a little bit easier for accessing your fluids and other things that you're
Yeah.
getting in and out. Bigger steps too.
You and I touched on that today too, looking at where my cab over sits versus where yours sits.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably like a 3-inch difference, maybe 4 inches even.
Oh yeah.
And where you get at your radiator cap and your fluids, like it's a lot more easily accessible than mine.
Oh yeah. I still need a step stool, but yeah. Other than that, it definitely helps.
And you've been polishing your own ride this entire season.
Yeah, and I mean, just for general pride in a ride kind of thing, I've done it over the years and trying to get better and better at it. But
That's awesome.
it's all doing it, I guess.
So how long would you say you've been polishing for?
Since 2014.
So, but just on your own ride, like you haven't done
Yeah.
it for anybody else, just your own stuff.
Just my own stuff, and then little things here and there helping other amateurs out. Trying to help other amateurs out.
So in the 6 years you've been doing it, like, I guess what's my question? In the 6 years you've been doing it, what have you noticed or learned on your own that you were like, these are game changers for yourself? Like, what things helped you out along the way so far is probably what I'm trying to get at.
I'd say learning how to sand, and that, like, you might not have something really that's been maintained very well on the aluminum side of things.
Sure.
And if you just went and cut it, you'd be pretty disappointed in what you're looking at just from being on that amateur side. It's a lot nicer when I found when you start out with something fresh aluminum, like that's just been sanded, run through the paces of the
Sure.
bits. And
I always try to tell people to try to avoid sanding as much as possible, because sanding is one of the biggest downfalls of most people. Like most people sand when they don't need to because they think they have to sand to get perfection.
yeah,
And then other people don't sand it enough or properly, and that hurts them too. And they
Can't.
sanded when they didn't need to. So they fought themselves and worked backwards from where they were. And I get a lot of people message me, they're like, oh man, it looked better before I started. And I was like, yeah, let me see what it looked like. And they send me pictures. I'm like, well, why'd you sand it? And they're like, well, I just thought to get that perfect mirror shine, I had to sand it. And I'm like, what did you start at? And they're like, well, 80 grit. And I'm like, whoa.
Oh, man.
Like, you didn't
Yeah.
even need 600 grit. You could have made that thing look nice. But
yeah, oh yeah.
I don't know. It's
I'd say just for, I found, I won't touch anything that's really on the side of the truck. It's all stuff like end caps and stuff
Sure.
that are just pitted deep, and
Yeah.
and that rouge is just getting grabbed in those
Yeah.
gouges. And at least being here today, you showed that just on that steer you did,
Yeah.
and how you use the loose flannel wheel
Yeah.
there. And
use the
green
white
bar.
buff instead of the
Yeah.
yellow buff. Yeah.
And that was something that I picked up, and it was okay.
Yeah.
Use that from now on when I have, say, pitting or anything that you don't want that those streaks to be in there. And
Sometimes it's those little tricks that make the biggest amount of difference. You know, like sometimes a yellow buff with green compound just, we talked about this a bit in the shop, that sometimes the yellow and the green just builds up too much heat, and if your stuff's not good enough, you shouldn't be coloring it. Like
No.
if the surface isn't smooth, you shouldn't be coloring it. And a lot of times the color will turn black, and I do get a lot of messages on that as well, with people that are like, you know, everything looked good, and then I went to go color, and as soon as I colored, everything turned black and it doesn't look right. And it's like, well, if it looked good, then you didn't necessarily need to color, unless you're going to sand it down and get it nice and smooth and then work from there.
I think the big thing I learned was just watching you go through the tanks. Like, I would have already added more rouge to it, coloring. Like, I don't know, I always thought you want that line to be pretty good and thick even when you're going through on your color, but it was just,
That's one of the things I teach in the class.
didn't need as much.
Is a lot
as
of people think they need to see a thick black line when they're coloring. On your cut, yes, you will have a thick black line because you're removing quite a bit of metal, but that color is just literally clearing it up. So as long as your pad stays wet and it's not getting scratchy and hashy, you don't need a ton of compound. Excuse me. You don't need a ton of compound to get that colored out. It should color out pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
And with very minimal compound. I usually say for every bar of brown, or every 4 bars of brown, I go through 1 bar of green. So it's about a quarter of what I use. So as long as your cut's good, your color shouldn't need a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So a quarter of the product usage between my brown and my green, we go through a ton more brown than we ever do green in the shop.
Yeah.
It's just how it goes.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing I noticed today was it's just good to be watching, like, and seeing what you're doing versus maybe what I'd be doing, just pretty not blindly watching some videos. And
It's always different when you're here and you can hear it and you can see it right in front of you versus seeing it over a YouTube video.
Even that problem you picked up with the pressure was just like, okay, there you go. Now I know that sound. I'm doing it. I'm feeling it.
I always tell people when
right
they send me questions and they're like, oh, what am I doing wrong? And I'm like, you may as well call Stevie Wonder and ask him what color his shirt is.
Yeah.
You know, like, he doesn't know. I don't know what process you did to get to where you're at. I don't know what products you're using, what pressure you're using, how wide your overlap is. And everybody's like, oh, my overlap's really good. And I'm like, that may be, but if your pressure doesn't match your overlap, you might not have enough pressure for how tight your overlap is. And I've had guys tell me, and I've had them send me pictures, and they're like, my overlap's an 1/8 inch. And I'm like, that's tight overlap. And then they show me, and it is super tight, but their pressure's so light, they're not even covering an 1/8 inch.
No.
So it's like, that's pretty skinny. I mean, your pad's just barely skipping across the surface, but as soon as you add a little bit of pressure and keep your overlap there, all of a sudden it all starts falling together.
Yeah.
Well, that's always a big one. What's your favorite thing to polish? Wheels, tanks, boxes?
I'd say Peterbilt boxes.
Really?
Honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
The diamond plate ones or the smooth face ones?
Diamond.
Really?
Yeah.
I like diamond plate.
My technique is just side to side,
Yep.
and then bring it back up.
Yep.
And then I've always had decent luck with it.
That's the perfect way to do it. I mean, you're catching both sets of the diamonds, and then you're clearing it all up on your final pass.
And even as frustrating as diamond plate is,
It does
those
look good when
side
it's
smooth
done.
box of your box, I had a habit of it when I was running that 388, that cream one.
Yep.
Yeah. Had those always looking pretty good, and I was always happy with them. That's the only. It's just living in the past of getting a nice clear finish of that, and that's always been my favorite thing to polish up.
That's awesome. Honestly, that's the first time somebody's ever said diamond plate.
Yeah,
Usually everybody's like, oh, I love tanks, or I love grills, or I love wheels.
It's mostly the side of the boxes that the diamond plate's not terrible for me. I don't know. I've always been able to just, you just work through it, and maybe it's not perfect and stuff, but
it's smooth.
It's smooth, and it's not leaving a bunch of black hash behind and whatever leftover rouge.
Right.
And you can't, once you go back up on it, somehow everything went good, and you're okay.
Clears right up.
Don't want to do the other side now, though, honestly.
So I'm sure everybody's kind of caught on by now the accent.
Is there an accent? Yeah.
So where are you from, originally?
So, Thompson, Manitoba is where I was born.
Sure.
Which is
so Canada.
A few hours, about 8-9 hours, depending on how many stops at Tim's you make. North
you gotta hit them all, right?
North of Winnipeg, Manitoba, which is north of Fargo, North Dakota, north of Omaha, Nebraska, north of, just keep going north.
Everybody always gives me the beans when we're at shows when I say about.
About.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like not quite Canadian, but it's pretty close.
Oh, well, it's just...
you guys are a bit thicker.
You're definitely not UP accent or anything like that.
UP is more Canadian than anybody.
You betcha there, bud. Yeah.
The UP is more Canadian than Canada is.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah, I'm like, okay, calm down. But
throttle it back
her easy there. Yeah, you're adding a little too much sauce to the mix.
I always tell everybody we're like... Where we're at here, we're like 60 miles south of where A starts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, eh?
Yeah.
The weather's going to be great today, eh? And I always get nervous. Like, I have a few Upers that come down with their log trucks to get done every year. And the one guy, every year he comes down, and we get done with his truck, and he walks around the truck, and he's like, oh, man, she looks good, eh? And I'm like, I never know if he's asking me or if he's telling me.
Oh, he's telling you. He's confirming. Yeah.
Oh, man, she looks good, eh? And then he just, like, waits, and I'm like, I'm not sure if he asked me if I think it looks good or if he's telling me he thinks it looks good. I'm trying to, like, decipher a little bit, but...
Just meet in the middle, Dale, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yep. No, I agree. She looks good. She looks good, eh?
Yeah. But, what do you got now?
What got you into trucking?
Farming and being around a bit of heavy equipment and wanting to... Well, I don't know. I don't know what it was.
Come from a family of truckers?
No. First one.
Really? First generation?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I don't even know what wanted me to get to, like, into tankers or just trucking in general. I don't know what clicked, but it was just something I wanted to do. And
because it seems like you really like it. I mean,
yeah.
When I talk to you at the shows, it's like you have a passion for it.
Yeah, and I think it's in my family, my thing, and I'm able to just run with it, and they just go, whatever you say. Like, that's the first generation thing. It's not, I don't know, I don't have to really worry about what they're
Or
thinking
living up
about
to somebody
it.
else's
Yeah,
expectations or footsteps, yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah, and not.
I can get that.
But there's also probably the good side of that, where you're striving to do what the last generation has done and everything else, which I've caught on quite a bit and taken cues, just learning with the environment that I'm around, with the show trucks and the other things and the professional attitudes with.
I was going to say, you work for an awesome company to get to be able to express your creative side.
Yeah.
I mean, working at Jade, it doesn't seem like there's ever an end to the level of nice trucks they build.
No.
And getting to be able to go to the shows with those trucks, it's got to be like, I don't know. I've known Jade for all the years I've been polishing. I'm pretty sure I still remember back when Larry was showing.
Yeah.
And I knew Dennis pretty well. I knew Marty real well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to see all those guys out at the shows all the time, and they always had nice trucks. They weren't slouching any bit.
No, and that's the thing when you're kind of bringing, I don't know, Jacob Gunderson. He likes to say Canadian cool. Yeah,
It is.
Yeah, and it's just, you might not have those, say, 24.5 lows or anything like that on the truck, but again, it's something that we can't find at home very readily available when you need.
Like I said, it still comes down to the story.
Yeah, and
there's a reason for it.
Stuff like that Canadian cool.
So what got you into the polishing side of it? Like, you're a first generation trucker, and I doubt there's a polisher in your family.
No.
So it's like, what brought you to the shiny side of the trucks? Just pride in your ride?
Seeing the other guys like Marty and Dennis and Terry and Barry and that was pretty much the go-to for getting, to the next level of the truck that I was, I guess, pretty known for running when I was starting out was that little 386 with the coffin sleeper and the one stack waving all the time, and it was never really didn't have anybody taking care of it, and I drove it for 8 months or something like that, and I saw it as an opportunity to just, if I can prove that I can make this thing look good, maybe I'll get to the next thing and the next thing and the next, and it's
worked out well for you, because that new Kenworth is super cool.
And it's right up my alley for. I like all the plaid and everything that we did with it. And
I agree.
It's
different.
Yeah.
For me, it's a good different. I love plaid. I think that whole interior just is something different that not a lot of other people have seen.
And even that, it being a B, is just different too.
Yep.
Everyone's kind of stuck with the L, and so be it. But it was a different stroke, different folks kind of thing for the B, and make it look good.
So there wasn't anybody else polishing? Anything else other than like pride?
The big thing when you start at Jade, or at least it was for me, they talk about how we have a wash bay staff, and they'll take care of washing the trucks and everything. But they ask you kind of, it's almost like in your resume or your interview is, what do you think about taking care of the truck for the shiny side of things?
Yeah.
We'll wash it, you shine it, kind of thing.
That's honestly a good way to do it.
It gives you that sort of initiative to keep pushing yourself and keep that thing looking good. And washing it is just, it gets done. But it's that polish that's really showing the pride in your ride. You're taking that time to do it yourself and learn with it. And
polish is that last little bit of jewelry, Like, you can have a cool truck, but if your polish isn't right, the truck just kind of falls off the wayside,
Sometimes you might look at a ratted out, clapped out looking thing, and you're looking at some shiny as all hell, and you're, dang, I think I might want to buy that or something.
Yeah.
It's looking pretty tasty.
So what's been like the highlight of your career so far? Like, what was the one thing, if you had to put a dot on one thing so far that you were like, this kind of made my year, or this has kind of set the tone for you for where you're headed?
I think it was that that first truck that kind of got a bit more into the show truck things, which is that 388 stand-up cream and green.
Yep.
I think that was kind of where I knew I could go up from there, and with that 386, I was kind of, all right, yeah, I'll just keep at her.
Yeah.
Smile on the face, come on, let's go. And you get compliments with something like that, and then when
Starts
you
building some confidence,
start driving something that's a little bit better, or whatever, a little bit more of your taste, might not necessarily be better, but more your taste. It definitely helped me kind of get a cue on what was going to be coming, like, and what to shoot for.
Yeah.
Like,
after getting to know you a little bit, like that, your new truck is like, it kind of fits your style too. I mean,
yeah,
it's you to a T.
Plaid, kind of 70s groovy vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just laid back.
Maybe a bit sarcastic, like. But, yeah.
It's not until you start looking at the small details that you're like, oh, all right, I get it.
Yeah.
It was pretty subtle on the outside.
Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily think you're gonna open the door to
A full blown
grandma's living room. Yeah, like
grandma's living room.
somebody said that at a show. It's like sitting in grandma's living room.
Your grandma was cool.
We're gonna plastic wrap the seats and everything, and we're gonna make sure she stays fresh. Yeah.
That's outstanding.
But yeah, and I think that might be it, for a personal achievement highlight of the career, I guess, so far. It was that, and then now this new truck is definitely, not to make it a materialist kind of highlight, but something that you take a lot of pride in, and it's part of your job and everything else. Like, I done the ice road thing, and that was pretty cool. It was just a pretty boring, honest 3 months. Like, once you get into it, it's like, oh yeah, this is fun.
10 mile an hour all over the place.
Yeah, pretty well. Yeah, and it's just okay. What did I sign myself up for here? Yeah. But another thing that is and I can't thank them enough when it comes to it, but I was up on the ice roads, and it just shows what a good company Jade is. That my grandma had been diagnosed with cancer about the same time I was heading out there, and we thought, oh, okay, like, you never think it's going to happen super fast, like the deteriorating of the situation, but yeah, it ended up being very fast, and I was only up there for a month or so, and they were like, well, it's going to happen soon.
Yeah.
So what they had done is they got me a load all the way up from where we were camped out in Yellowknife, Northwest Territories.
Sure.
All the way home to Winnipeg.
Really?
Just direct run, step deck load, oversized.
Got you home.
Got me home, and Chris McAllister actually delivered that load while I just pretty much turned the key off and ran to the hospital. And I got there got 2 hours with her.
Wow.
And that was just like, just can't thank them enough for
that's awesome
getting that done, and just shows that, like, it's not you're a number thing at all there, and treat you like family.
And honestly, I don't even know how many years I've known Larry now, and I know David. I don't know Jonathan as well. I mean, I've met him a few times, but I don't know him as well as I do David. And Larry, I mean, he's always been super nice to me. And honestly, the whole group has always been super nice to me. Dennis has been great. Adam's always been good. Marty. Oh God, I can't even get into some Marty stories because I'm not sure we'd be allowed to air it.
You can't even say Marty without that. Like, Marty.
If we got to talk about all that stuff, I'm sure we wouldn't get to air it. But it's been a lot of fun and just such a great group of guys. I always get that home family feel when we all get together. Even if we're just shooting around, shooting the breeze, you just feel like you're family, even though I'm not. You know, I would imagine that translates into everybody else. And Marty and Dennis and every driver I've ever met has always spoken highly of.
And
the whole organization.
Yeah, yeah. And they, do treat you like family, and that was a thing, taking 18-year-old kind of, I guess, cowboy, there you go, on, so, early, 18 years old,
Right.
and they gave a lot of training and made sure that I was comfortable with what I was doing.
Right.
Didn't jump me into anything that I needed to maybe learn on the go, pedaling away, and
Right.
just and I think their idea was to have younger people coming in, and there's a couple of us, and kind of mold what they want out of a driver.
Sure.
And it worked out quite well for the couple of us that were given the opportunity to do it.
Built you into a ideal Jade driver.
Yeah, I guess so. And there's other guys that have started it later on in their career, and they're just as good, better, whatever.
Can jump into that spot.
Yeah. It's just I did like the opportunity to,
Start right out the gate and be with one company.
Yeah, exactly, and it made a big difference for.
That's not a big thing
I think
anymore.
if
Most people jump from one to the next to the next.
If I ended up starting out somewhere where it was more fleet orientated and a big company where maybe you're more of a number than anything, I don't think I'd still be in it.
Yeah.
It's just that's what I live for, is the camaraderie, the family homey feel of,
Yep.
yeah. And
Honestly, that's still my favorite part of the semi scene. Is it's a lot more family camaraderie instead of like just somebody's here for another something, you know, some reason or another.
Yeah, between jobs or something like that, or just not in it for same idea of you're doing it because it's a lifestyle, you know. You enjoy it.
It's true.
For the most part.
And it's cool that you enjoy it being a first generation truck driver. I mean, it's everybody asks me the question all the time, like, why polishing? Like, you didn't have any polishers in your family.
No.
Like, why polishing? I'm like, I don't know. It just called my name, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
And now I couldn't see myself doing anything else, you know? So it's always cool for me to see, it's cool to see a driver like yourself that does as much as you do in the polishing side, because I know a lot of the old drivers always said, I used to polish all my own stuff, but when you talk to them and you figure it out, it was like they just used hand polish. And that's fine. That's not to degrade the fact that they did polish, but it's like they weren't high-speed buffing. So it's like, and it's different to do your truck once a year versus doing it 3 trucks a day every day of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't understand that. Is like, I have to treat it like a business. This isn't my truck that I can polish it once a year, and if it takes me all weekend to do it, I'm not out anything because it's my own truck. Like, this is something I have to make a business out of.
Yeah.
And that was a struggle for me for a number of years. So when I see a guy like yourself that polishes but still stops here once in a while just to say hi and get a quick touch up, like, that's cool to me, because you understand exactly what it takes to do that.
Oh yeah, and I see when this might be it's not the last time I'm going to be stopping in for a touch up, because when it comes to doing it myself, there's a lot of time that like I gotta put aside to. I come in, I might only have 36 hours to be home and do my thing.
You don't want to spend them all polishing.
No, there's the cleaning factor. There's the just general upkeep of everything and making sure you're to a T and dotting your I's on everything else.
And then laundry and paperwork and
and then you come on to well, I gotta polish this thing now, so I've only got 10 hours left in my day.
Yeah.
And gotta leave early in the morning or something. You're up till like 2-3 in the morning in the shop, and Mark, the head shop, comes in and he's got coffee. And you're like, thank you so much. I'm gonna hit the road now. Yeah.
All right, so we maxed out on that first part, but so that leads into my next question. Is I usually ask people what's the most interesting thing that you've polished, but you mainly do your own truck. So it's not like that you're polishing for somebody else. So I will go with, what is the most interesting place you've polished?
Oh, yeah. I'd say that the most interesting place I polished, probably the streets of Albert Lee, Minnesota. Like,
what were you doing in the streets of Albert Lee, Minnesota?
Well, Dennis and I were headed to a truck show down in Brett, Iowa, the No Coast Large Car show.
JR Sluggers, Lifetime Lug Nut Cover Show. Yep.
Yeah. And I had gotten washed up early the night before, and Dennis had to wait till morning. So he had gone to bed, get some rest, and I just got the truck washed, finished wiping it down. I noticed a little bit of imperfection in the tanks, and I just wasn't having it. So I have all my polishing stuff with me on the road, just in my box, and so strapped on the respirator, plugged her into the inverter with the truck idling away there. And,
you run a variable.
Yeah, variable DeWalt, and I just started hammering it out with the lights on the truck, and took a couple Snapchats, sent them to Evan. Yeah.
I'm like, he's really working on the side of the road here.
Yeah, just sitting on the asphalt, getting the hemorrhoids. Yeah, that's great. Yeah. But I was a little black in the face there the next morning, and had some questions to answer.
To Dennis.
When oh, you're finally. Oh, never mind. I think you've been up all night. Yeah.
Because we saw you at that show. The wife and I took the kids down to that show. We hadn't gone out and done anything all year, and I just decided last minute we were going to go to the No Coast Large Car Show, and we got down there and I saw you guys there, and I was like, well, that's where he was headed, because you had sent me the snap saying that you were getting polished up for a show, and it was a good show. It was a big turnout.
Oh, that was probably one of my favorite shows to be at. It's just we were parked with people we enjoy and really get along with, and then there was a good Canadian crowd around there.
Yeah.
Like Marina Chartrand, Barry LaFrance, and
I love Bear. Bear's I've known Bear.
Ty Jam as well. And,
yeah. I've known Bear for a long time, and it's always great to sit and shoot the breeze with Bear. I love old trucker stories, so getting to talk with Dennis and Bear, I think I must have sat by Bear's truck and talked with him and Dennis for probably the better part of 4 hours.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you just get lost. I mean,
you just next story keeps going, keep going. Next thing you know, Bear's filling the thermos back up.
Oh man, I can't drink with Bear.
No.
I gave that up for Lent 10 years ago, and I ain't going back. Those guys are professionals.
Yeah. Talk about professional. Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah, but stuff like that, where that was probably the weirdest place I've busted out the buffer was
the side of the road.
Yeah, the side streets of Albert Lee, Minnesota. Yeah.
What's the what's been the hardest thing for you to polish so far? Like, what's been your biggest struggle?
I'd say Kenworth end caps. They're just so flat.
Yeah, the flat end caps.
Yeah, and even though working, I said the side of the steps, really like those, but it's such a small piece that you can kind of, any imperfections, you might not really see them as much. And it's such a tight spot you're working on.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to mess up.
I always tell everybody, even when you're working on a flat end cap on like a Kenworth tank, just move a little faster. Moving faster keeps your line tighter, and a lot of times it solves the problem itself. The problem is so I'm going to make a YouTube video on this to try and explain it a little better. But that black line, most people chase that black line. And that black line, when it spins off in front of your buff, like on a rounded surface, that black line is a lot closer to where your buff is versus when you're working on something flat. When you're working on something flat and you got a round buff on something flat, that rouge slings off straight in front of you. So if you're looking at my finger, and the people that are listening to the podcast aren't going to be able to see this, but if you're looking at my finger, where it slides off in front of the buff, it's way up here. So about an inch above
You're already
where
jumping too
you
high.
are. So if you're chasing that black line, you're jumping your line all the time, and that's why most people struggle. Is flat stuff, they don't compensate for that black line slinging off further in front of their buff because it's flat versus if it's rounded. When it's rounded, that black comes all the way around and slings off right in front of your buff because the other stuff slides over the top of the tank. It just shoots over the top of the rounded part.
Oh yeah.
So the black line ends up closer to where your buff is on rounded stuff versus on flat. On flat, it's quite a bit wider, and the people that chase that black line, they're on top of that the whole time.
And that other line you just say is shine line? Or?
Yeah, so the shine line. The shine line is what I teach people when they come to my class, is that shine line is where you want the buff to sit. You want it to stay in that shine line all the time. So the shine line is just behind the black line, and I try to teach most people to see where the buff is flattening out versus where that black line is. Because the buff will flatten out, if you're pushing properly, it should be about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch, right? So the buff should be laying about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch on the surface. And you should only move up about 1/8 to a 1/4 of an inch every time, so you're overlapping everything twice, right? Well, the black line is still a 1/4 inch above your 1/2 inch.
Oh yeah.
So there's still a 1/4 inch that gets missed if you're chasing the black line. And that's 9 out of 10 people struggle when they come to me and they're like, I'm leaving white lines or I'm leaving yellow lines or brown lines. It's like, you're just missing that overlap.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So that just a bit of an optical illusion that's keeping you from.
And honestly, I think
right.
that now that you added more pressure to yours, I think you're going to be better off too. It's going to help you with your flat work 100% too.
Yeah,
because now it's going to flatten that pad out a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Getting a little more surface area covered when you're chasing those little black lines.
What's the best advice, or just a couple pieces of advice that you could give another driver that wants to maintain their own ride? Like, what would you tell them has been like some easy things that you've found that you do for yourself that makes your life easier when you go to do a full polish? Like, is it certain products? Is it certain ways you hand polish, or how often you hand polish, that kind of stuff?
I'd say it's definitely, that kind of almost like preventative maintenance where you're just keeping on top of it. Like with the aluminum hand polish, just go over everything after you say you're done your week or something and your truck's cleaned up.
Yep.
Just one over it, and when you're, say, doing your tanks like we talked about earlier, go up and down with the hand polish versus going side to side.
Yep. Or a lot of
and
people go in circles.
Man.
I see swirls in a lot of people's stuff just because they're going in circles. They're not going with the grain. Polishing, you don't always have to go with the grain when you're cutting and coloring. Usually you do, but some things you just can't. But hand polishing should always be done with the grain, unless it's going to create what I call the fat lady, the sideways stripes. You want to try and go up and down as much as possible.
Yeah.
And that's cool.
Yeah, that's I think the biggest thing is just keeping up on everything. It might be, I don't know, an hour of your time to just kind of go around your truck.
Yep.
Make sure you just cover all your aluminum. You put all that money or your hard work and time into it. You might as well upkeep it with good products like your aluminum polish.
Yeah, I know you've been using our Time to Shine stuff quite a bit this year. I noticed you primarily use the Time to Shine aluminum polish. Yep. You use the quick detailer quite a bit.
Yep.
And the ceramic sealant. Yeah,
I've touched a little bit into that, but I haven't really done the truck with it just because I don't know, it's a lot of surface area that I was like, man, I think I'm just gonna go over my aluminum one more time with the aluminum polish, and we'll get the ceramic done later. But after seeing what we did today with that the ceramic foam, I'm like, man, that was too easy. All right.
And we walked out there now that the truck's dry, and it's
glossed up,
ridiculously glossy.
Yeah.
I'll probably wipe down the back of the bunk with the ceramic sealant before you leave, just to get some of the spots that we missed when we washed it. And it'll help protect the back of that even more, because the back is going to get beat from how hard you guys run. But I'll hit the back of it with the ceramic sealant. And you've been using the glass sealant.
Yeah. For my any of my glass, like any of my windows, I've been using it.
Do you find you use your windshield wipers less?
I hardly use them in the first place unless
Really?
I like really need to use them. I get in the habit of just not using them if I don't need to. Most of the time I've got some sort of glass sealant on there
Yeah.
that beads up and it just runs away and you can see through the beading. But
that makes a big difference. Honestly, I don't use windshield wipers on my pickup at all anymore. I mean, unless it's a real light mist and I'm not doing over like 15 or 20 miles an hour. I mean, it just runs right off. I don't even have to mess with it. But I did notice that when you were at Waupun that you used the quick detailer quite a bit, the tire shine a bit. But honestly, the quick detailer's got some ceramic in it as well. So I mean, a few layers of that, you're going to start catching up with where the ceramic sealant is. The ceramic sealant just gives it a little bit of extra gloss. But
I think my favorite part about, and it might be just my use or other people might find it, when you're using that quick detailer, I find you don't have to go back over it necessarily. Like, it's almost like it just gets evaporated when you're done wiping through. It doesn't streak, it doesn't do anything you're losing that clarity in your
that's what we were shooting for. We wanted to wipe on, be done. That's what we wanted.
And if you maybe want it to be a bit more glossy, then go through with a microfiber or something and give it
like a final polish.
Bit of a buff.
Yep. Yeah, that works.
Yep.
All right, so this is the roughest part for me. I get to open the floor to you and let you ask me a question. I always ask, no asking about previous companies I worked with or religion or politics.
Okay.
That's it.
Oh, man. Should have been thinking about this earlier.
I like to put people on the spot because it seems to be more natural and you end up with some... Definitely ends up being more interesting.
I'd say with the job, you have a lot of traveling and a lot of time here, and you're away from the girls and and family in general, and it's a lot like trucking, right? And
I've never trucked, but I would assume so. Yeah.
Well, yeah, just a lot of time put away to the job. You got to be there.
Yeah.
And what would you say for next year? We've had such a slow year. Like maybe not slow.
I know what you're getting at.
But for the show scene of things, we've kind of had a year where we've been able to kick back and
I got spoiled this year.
Yeah, and reel it in and just realize what you've been kind of missing all these years, right?
Yeah, I will say, like, it's been tough. I mean, and you were at my house. You didn't get to spend a whole lot of time with my girls, but honestly, my oldest is 10, my youngest turned 7, and they went with me to the Lifetime Lug Nut Covers No Coast large car show.
Finally got to meet them there.
Yeah. And my girls have just become, I don't even know what to call it. They're their own beings. I mean, they've grown into. My oldest is turning into a young adult. I mean, they're both very mature and both pretty responsible for their age. And like, I missed a lot of that. I don't regret anything because I've built a business that have helped set us up for a better future. But I come from a first generation, and we didn't have something to fall back on, and we didn't have something pre-built given to us, you know. And it was like, when my wife and I got married, we got married in 2005. She was ready to have kids right away. And I had just quit my full-time job at the wash.
Yeah.
And I asked my wife, I said, give me 5 years without kids. And I didn't mean anything bad by it. It was,
want to know you're set.
I didn't want to be building a business and the financial burden of a kid at the same time. And I know my work ethic and my dedication to what I want. And I figured if I had 5 years to get this thing off the ground and get my business established to where I was comfortable, we'd be in a better spot. So we did. We waited 5 years. It was almost exactly 5 years when we had our first. I think it was from June when I quit my job until she was born in April. Yeah, April.
Check the tats. Yeah.
She was born in April, and it was almost 5 years. So 5 years from that June to that April, and what is that? 2 months short of 5 years, and my wife still worked at that time. She took her. What is it? 12 weeks you get when you have a kid or whatever. Canada might be different.
Yeah. I don't honestly know.
Ellen, what is it for when you have your kid? 12 weeks?
Up to 12, yeah.
Yeah, so she took the full 12 weeks with our first one. And then she went back to work, and I worked mornings. She worked afternoons. So with Lexi, our oldest, I was with her all afternoon. So I'd get up at like 5 or 6 in the morning, and I'd work until 3. Well, business was really picking up for us at that time, and it was getting really busy, and it was like, all right, now we need to get a babysitter from 3 until 5 or 3 until 6 when I could get home, and then I'd watch Lexi, and then the wife would get home at like, I think she worked 3 to 10 or 2 to 10, something like that. So it was like our shifts were overlapping, so like I'd be dead tired.
Yeah.
And I'd be half the time sleeping by the time she got home or whatever. So it was like I got to be around Lexi a lot when she was a baby. Well, Lexi and Lacey are 3 years apart. When Lacey was born, we were having issues with some babysitters that we had. It just wasn't working out for us. So I told the wife, I think it was like right after Lacey was born, she took her 12 weeks with Lacey, and then she went back to work, and it was only like 3 or 4 weeks after she went back, we were having a ton of issues with the babysitters, and it was like her paycheck was like $200 or $300 for 2 weeks, and I looked at her and I said, I can make that in one day. Why don't you stay home and raise the kids?
Yeah.
And I'll just work all day. So it was the sacrifice that I made for my wife being able to be a stay-at-home mom was I'll work. I get up most days at 6 o'clock in the morning. I start marketing from 6 until 8. I polish in the shop from 8 until 5. I go home. I market from 5 until 8.
It's a lot of marketing, yeah.
And then the kids are going to bed at, well, you were there at, what, 7:30 last night?
Yeah, and they were already tucked in.
Yeah. So like a lot of days when it was crazy, I'd be gone in the morning before they got up. I'd be getting home either just in time to give them a kiss goodnight for bed, or they were in bed and asleep already and I didn't want to wake them up. Now throw on top of that the show schedule and everything else. It was like,
Yeah.
I don't regret doing that because it set us
It's done good.
in place for
Yeah.
a better future for the kids.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what you were getting at is this year I got spoiled. Like,
Yeah.
we were home a lot. Like I wasn't even allowed to work mobile. Like we had a cop here at our shop 6 o'clock in the
whether or
morning
not.
on a Saturday to tell us we weren't essential.
Oh, really?
And that COVID had us shut down. And we had dealt with the state ahead of that to find out if we could be open, if we were essential or not. Since we do take rims and tires off, we were considered maintenance
Oh, yeah.
on semis. So we were able to stay open during the whole COVID. We had a lot of restrictions here. We weren't allowed to have people in the building for a little while.
Yeah.
There's still some mask restrictions and stuff. I don't know, it's been weird. But that cop was here at 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning because somebody had called in a picture I had put on my Instagram.
Oh.
And it was like, I don't know why somebody wanted to put us in that position, but at the same time, we weren't even able to work mobile. Like we had to work out of our shops. Everybody had to bring their trucks here. It's been weird. Like I come to work every day at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. I'm home every day by like 3, 4, 5 o'clock because I don't have that commute to somebody else's shop to go
Yeah.
polish 3 or 4 trucks and then the commute back. So it's like I've been home a lot. I've been around the girls a lot this year.
Yep.
And they've gotten used to Dad being home. So if
Yeah.
the show's wide open next year, like I really want to push our new product, our Time to Shine stuff.
Yeah.
And I know we have a couple years of promoting that to get it fully launched and moved in the direction that I want it to be. Leaving the company we were working with was kind of a tough decision on our side. And moving in the direction we did was even harder because we were starting over essentially.
Oh yeah.
And it was tough. I mean, there's still people that message me that don't know we left and started our own.
No, yeah, that's the...
Because we haven't had the shows, and people see a lot of the stuff we do at the shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if the shows are open next year, I'm going to be a little more picky and choosy. I'm probably going to just fly into some of them and not work at them. I've noticed a shift in the industry a little bit. The way things used to go aren't the way they still go. Now that with the e-logs, there's a lot less time for people to be in places for shows.
Yeah.
So like, let's just say, for example, like 75 Chrome Shop. We always go down to Clint Dick's shop. He lets us use his shop. Even then, most people couldn't get in until like Thursday or Friday before the show, and the show starts on Friday. So it was like we usually polish there like Tuesday or Wednesday and had people come in early. Well, now with e-logs, people can't get in that early.
Yeah, it
so it's like
puts a strain on.
And it doesn't pay for us to go down and polish at it anymore. Clint has a local guy now that's been taking care of his stuff, which is nice.
Yeah.
Because Clint's been good to us, and I didn't want to leave him hanging.
Oh yeah.
And Louisville isn't that much away from there, so most people are still looking really good from Louisville. They just need a quick hand polish touch up. So it's like, let's say, for example, Chad Berry. When he goes down, I could fly in. He carries hand polish with him. I could help him hand polish, clock his tires and stuff, and call it a day.
Yeah.
I wouldn't need to take my entire pickup, my trailer, my grinders, all that stuff down. I could just fly in and hang out.
Yeah.
I could fly in on Thursday, help him touch up Thursday night so he's ready for the show on Friday, hang out for the weekend, and fly back home on Sunday.
And I guess even with that, the not working the shows really.
Yeah.
If you were more into just, you do that hand polish touch-ups, maybe, I don't know, helping out a little bit more in depth here and there, but you're not at the level of, you're not in it.
Yeah.
As
like Louisville,
deep.
we hit Louisville hard. Like we always go into Louisville deep. We usually have 10, 12, 14 guys with us that were full polishing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're knocking trucks out. We're doing full details. We're doing full polishes. Like, we do a lot at Louisville every year.
Yeah.
That one's always been a good marketing for us.
Yeah.
75 has been hit and miss for us. We've had some really good years, and we've had some years where we drove all the way down, and we just had good marketing. We had good exposure.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes it is just better to fly in, hang out with everybody, just go out to the dinners and help everybody just wipe down than it is to set up a booth and have product and all that stuff. It's just, it's not always the best move to have a booth at every show.
Yeah. So would you, I guess, I don't know how often you've taken Lexi, Lacey, and gone down to the shows and actually spent the time with them, other than maybe, you had Good Day and Britt there, and got to just kick back and have...
I feel like now that the girls are getting older, they're starting to enjoy what Dad does.
Oh, yeah.
So Britt was still a little bit of a learning curve for them. Like, they're not used to the fact that I'll sit down and talk with Bear for 4 hours.
Oh, yeah, and they're just like, come on.
It's hot.
Like,
we don't know what to do. Can we sit in the truck and play our games? It's like, yeah, that's fine. But they're starting to get used to the fact that we walk around, we see the cool trucks. They see the light show. They love the light show every year. Yeah. So it's like at Waupun, they love coming down for the light show.
Yep.
Britt, they loved the light show. They thought that was cool, getting to see everything all lit up.
Yeah.
So it's like, as they start getting a little older, I would like to start flying and taking them to a lot of the shows, just because they're starting to enjoy what I enjoy.
Yeah.
So it's like, it would be nice to travel the country. Yes, it's a business deal. Yeah. But at the same time, I've got to see a lot of cool places, a lot of cool people, got to do a lot of neat things because of this business. So I would like to start taking the girls along. I think we're like 2-3 years away from them going full time with us. But, it would be fun.
Grabbing rags, making a wage.
Yeah. It's coming.
It is, yeah.
It's coming.
They're doing bottling, labeling, and other stuff like that around here. And
we try to keep them involved. Like, we want the kids to understand there's a value to every dollar.
Yep.
Like, this stuff just doesn't get given to you. You know? Well, that's a good question.
Good.
I like
Yeah,
that.
that and it was just more so to do with this year being
This year was
such
laid
a
back. It was nice
getting
to be home.
spoiled in the home time and if we have a good heavy deep year to, like next year,
It's going to be
is it
interesting.
going to be quite the
I
strain?
need to start leaning on my franchise a little more. Like, I need them to start taking care of some of this stuff as well. And I need to get them some more exposure so that people can see them at the shows and still understand they're going to get the same. All right, so I feel like that's pretty well it.
It's been a long one.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. I'm happy because there was a lot of good information come out of this one.
Yeah.
Like I said, from a driver's perspective of maintaining your own and getting to see the world through your eyes a little bit and helping that part of the industry as well. Some of the drivers that reach out to me that they only polish their truck and getting to hear somebody else that, I mean, you and I have known each other for a better part of a year now. Maybe closer to 2.
Yeah, and I think I've been following your stuff for the probably 5 years that I've known of you doing the very, very, you gotta turn the volume up on them kind of videos.
The old videos?
Yeah, where you're like, oh man, I'm not sure exactly what I heard there. But
We didn't even have a microphone. All I had was my GoPro, and we made it work with what we
But at least there's like some visual of what's happening and
It's actually a GoPro Hero 3. That's how
there
old it was.
you go. But like I started out with all this stuff from like getting it from a chrome shop that doesn't know anything about the polishing.
Yeah. That's where most people do
Have
start.
the bars, have the airways, and you're like, I think these match up okay. We're gonna trial and error. Let's do it. And
I still get that a lot. A lot of people switch them around, the green first and then the brown. It's like, no, it's the other way around.
yeah. And just a friend of mine had asked. He got a green wheel, and he wasn't too sure about the green airway.
Sure.
They told him to use it as his, I think it was his finishing wheel.
Sure.
And I was wondering, is that is he gonna have more error than trial?
It all depends.
Success?
Like everybody's brands are different, so somebody's green buff could be the same as my white buff. You know, the color of fabric really doesn't matter. It's the stiffnesses and stuff that make the biggest difference.
I told him to kind of show me a video of him kind of
Flexing
flexing
it to
it
see how heavy
and
it is,
see. Yeah. So I'll try to let him know, but I was
When was it?
myself.
When was the first time you messaged me? Probably 2 years ago.
Probably about 2 years ago, and that was kind of. I can't remember what I was doing that.
I don't remember either. You asked me a couple questions about something, and didn't hear nothing for a while, and I just assumed it worked out.
Yeah.
Because it was like, usually if it doesn't work, people hit me right away. They're like, that didn't work.
Nope.
It's like, but when it works, it's either I don't hear from them again, or I'll get a thank you once in a while, you know?
Yeah.
And then I think it was like 6 months later, you messaged me and sent me some pictures, and we're like, this is what I was working on, and I was like, oh shit, 6 months later.
Yeah.
But it worked.
As a Canadian, the thank you's implied. Yeah. Please and thank you. Yeah.
No, it was fine. I'm okay with that. Like, I understand what it is. Like, I started the YouTube channel to help. I started these podcasts to help. It's like, I appreciate when people do say thank you, but it's not something I have to have either.
No.
Like, it does drive me crazy. I will say this for the people that stuck around to the end to listen to this.
Listen.
The people that made it all the way to the end, it does drive me crazy if you message me every day asking questions and don't ask how I'm doing. Because if you're asking me every day,
Oh yeah.
just give me one day where you're like, how you doing?
And there's some calls that just get that lock screen button, man. I know that's got it.
I got a few
sometimes.
polishers that just hit me up every day, and a couple of them don't listen to me either. So it's like,
that's the worst.
I explain the problem, what they need to do to fix it, and then they call me back a week later with the exact same problem, and it's like, all right, now you're just asking me because you don't want to take the time to figure it out, and that hurts because I'm not getting paid for that time,
You're taking
and I
that
have
time,
to take time
yeah.
out of my day in the shop, and it's not like I'm just sitting in my office all day waiting for a phone call to come
No.
in. Like, I'm running a grinder, and I'm trying to get stuff done, and I'm trying to make money, and And it's like sometimes it just gets old, and it's like I try to answer everybody as best I can. I try to answer back all the emails, text messages, phone calls, all that stuff. Some days it's like I can't deal with this guy when it's 7 days in a row, 3 weeks in a row. It's like, oh my God, it's just getting to be too much sometimes. Like,
No,
I need to spend some time with the wife and kids at some point in time. And that time, choose out of that time.
That's the big thing with those YouTube kind of tutorial videos where you're able to just send them to it and be like, if you can't figure it out from there, you can.
Like, I try to give as much information as I can in the YouTube videos. So it's like, if you listen to the video and you still have a question beyond that, perfect, I can answer it. I'll figure it out. I'll figure out a solution for you.
Yeah.
But if it's because you fast forwarded and you didn't listen to it, I usually go, you should watch the whole thing. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. It's just I don't have all that excess time laying around.
Just watch the whole thing if it's not self-explanatory after that, where you can figure it out or know where to start.
And I've got just shy of 300 videos. So it's like I cover a lot of topics.
Yeah.
And I've got like another 20 saved in my phone that I need to make yet. And I have a few more on my computer at home that I've shot. I just need to edit and put it together. It's like the editing takes time. Like I'll get home at like, some days at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll be editing videos until midnight. Yeah. It's like 8 hours of video editing for like 3 or 4 videos. It's like, oh my goodness. I could hire a media manager is what I could do. Like somebody just to run my social media some days.
I don't know how you got time to do an Airbnb at the same time for all of us stopping in and whatnot. And Tony,
Yeah. Huttenstein slept in the same bed you did.
Yeah.
As disturbing as that is.
Stringers in the morning. No.
I try to treat everybody like family when they're here. When you said you were going to sleep in your truck, I'm like, you can. I'm not going to stop you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, we've got a nice house. We've got an extra bed. You may as well come and be part of the family. Like,
yeah, and it definitely was a good sleep and just
good way to get restarted.
I was up at 5 sitting at the bottom of the stairs waiting, but I haven't even done that. No, I was
That's too
kidding.
perfect.
But other than that, I still don't know what to do with my hands. I'm not sure.
Mike Honcho, everybody.
Mike Honcho, yeah.
I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you stopping by and hanging out. It was nice to get to hang out with you for a few days here.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you doing the podcast here. I'm pretty sure this is episode number 10. So we're starting to get quite a few under our belt. I feel like we're getting a rhythm to these things. And it was nice to get a fresh perspective because we've had a few guys on here that do drive truck, but their main part of the profession was polishing first, and driving was kind of a secondary income. For you, polishing hasn't become an income. It's just part of your job.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of a thing you got to do, and
so that's cool.
Take that pride in your ride to another level, and
it's nice to be able to get that perspective on the podcast as well. So I'm grateful to be able to add that to the channel, and I thank you for doing this.
As much as it was uncomfortable for me,
nobody watches.
Thank you for having me here.
Nobody watches them. Nobody listens. It's fine.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna notice. Send it to your mom and dad.
I'm gonna share it on my Facebook or something.
Yeah, I'll send you the links as soon as I get it up. Actually, I'm probably gonna edit it tonight because I could stand to put a new Polisher's Corner on maybe tomorrow. Maybe I'll get it uploaded for tomorrow's channel.
Oh, sweet.
Get it up on the YouTube channel by the weekend. Maybe that's what we'll do.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
Thanks for stopping by, buddy.
Well, thanks for having me.
See you on the next one.